This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, hey, thank you so much, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and today we welcome a young lady who got her start in music, as many do, singing in her home church where her daddy was a preacher and her mom was a vocalist and musician. She grew up near the cotton fields of Louisiana, where she assumed the role of choir director. Her gospel roots naturally tied into the blues, where you can still hear and feel hints of soul, along with the grittiness of rock. NPR said that in this artist, you will hear tinges of Ruthie Foster, Howlin' Wolf, and Janis Joplin, deftly melded with a cutting-edge, risk-taking, powerful sound, all uniquely her own. She has shared the stage with many of the biggest names in the blues, so let's talk to her, shall we? Tullie Brae, welcome to Time Signatures. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me so much. I appreciate it.
It is a pleasure to have you. I've been looking forward to this. And I want to dive right in here and talk to me about your earliest memories of music. Would you please?
Sure. My absolute first memory of life was sitting in my mother's accordion box, watching her play her accordion. And with her, I can remember her eyes closed, and she would even like cry when she would sing. She was so into her moment of playing that accordion and singing her melodies. And that's my very first memory of music,
wow.
Of life. It was sitting in my mom's, it had red velvet, and she would have me just, sitting there while she played, I guess, keep an eye on me. And then I've always been drawn to music. My first memory of loving music other than my mom was sitting at a breakfast table, and on TV, the Happy Goodmans came on, which was a gospel group.
Sure.
And they were saying, "Oh, happy day." And I remember running to the TV going, wow, and it's just been in me, since I can remember. It's what I've always loved and what I'm going to die loving, It's part of it.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Any particular artists or songs that you remember hearing those early years that you just had to keep hearing over and over again?
Yeah. I couldn't listen. My dad, we were non-denominational, but his faith, he just didn't want us dipping into secular music growing up. And so I listened to all gospel, but one artist was a secular musician, of course, and it was Elvis Presley. And my mom had his album. And I loved the song, He Touched Me. And I listened to that song over and over and over. So finally I begged, can I please sing in front of the church? He Touched Me. And so that was my first performance, actually, was an Elvis record.
Wow.
That song, yeah.
Now, at what point in your life did you realize that your path in music would be a lifelong adventure?
I was about 13 when during the summer months, I joined a little bluegrass gospel band. And it was the one looking for a harmony singer and a possible lead every now and then. So I joined that group, and it was a different type of music for me that I had never done before. And I loved it. I just loved being on the road during the summer months. And at that time, I was like, I'm supposed to do this, it's just what I have to do. And I've never quit, it's, I think that's when I really realized this is what I'm meant to do. To me, joy is watching others have joy. That is truly my joy. And music it definitely does that. It touches everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, where you live. Music can, it's a healing source for everybody. And I think that, it's going to sound cliche, but I think I'm called to do music. It's just what I'm supposed to be on this earth to do. And so I continue to do it and love it.
Now, Tullie, I want to talk about those early years when you were transitioning from the gospel to the bluegrass and other things. Was there any kind of pushback from your family or friends?
Yeah. Um, my family at first, they questioned it. I wouldn't say a pushback because they knew my faith and they believed in me and they trusted me.
Sure.
But it was, one of those things. My dad couldn't really support what I was doing. Couldn't promote it, I guess I should say. But he said, you're your own person. Um, just know where you came from, know your roots. And sadly, I've lost my father, but he supported me as much as he could. I mean, he didn't condemn me for it. And he knew that the music that I wrote and I chose, I try to make sure that that is something from my heart. I try to stick with positive or real life situations, or even if it's something that doesn't sound real life, I pull from a real life part that I've known and I
Sure.
enhance it as something fictional. So I try to tell a story, try to stay positive, and he appreciated it. He did.
It's been said that your shows feature a blend of Delta blues to rock infused contemporary blues, Tully. Do you find that your audience is accepting of the mix? Because it seems like many of today's blues tend to have a little bit more of a rock blend in it. And even Buddy Guy talked about how he and Muddy discussed taking the blues where you find it, adding your own twist to it, and then handing it off to the next generation. Do you find this to be the case?
I do. I feel like that the audience that I truly and dearly love, they seem to embrace the differences. One thing that I do love with the label that I'm with, the Mick Kolassa Endless Blues label, is that he calls it free range blues,
Yeah,
and I just love that quote because it truly is. It's a big umbrella of a lot of different styles, and I try to incorporate all those styles within one show because I love all of those styles. And all of those styles is how I grew up. I grew up in foot stomping, loud gospel music with a very much of a groove. And it was very blues based. And then also I love the Delta because that's my heart. My mother's in Mississippi. And
sure.
uh, so it's just, I try to incorporate all of that and the rock, part of it as well because I love it.
Yeah.
So I try to incorporate all of it. But they seem welcoming and they seem to appreciate, the variety. So hope it stays that way.
Yeah, yeah. Now, let's talk about your debut album, Revelation, Tully. You signed with Endless Blues Records, as you mentioned, with Mississippi Mick. Great guy.
I know.
Talk talk about that album, the writing process, bringing it to life, because it really is a highly personal record, isn't it?
Very much so. Yes. Um, Revelation I pulled from my gospel roots. I just love the title. It's not a song per se, but it was a revelation of a lot of the material. So I pulled a lot with, and you'll hear it like the opening song is Price of the Blues, and that has to do with domestic violence, violence in general.
Yeah,
And what you don't want to do, of course, you don't want to do what the song says, but it shows the frustration and how sad it can be.
yeah.
And then I pulled from my gospel roots Seven Bridges, which is one of my favorite songs. And my dad actually, we couldn't afford a baptistry when I was growing up in our first church. Our first church started in a little tent, actually, that the
Okay.
Army donated to my dad because he was trying to clear property for a church. And they said, well, until the church is built, why don't we just pitch a tent? And so they did. And while the church was building, we, of course, didn't have a baptistry. And my dad found seven bridges that had submerged under the lake there near our church. And he said, I
Wow.
think this might be a great place on the lake here to do baptisms. So we started baptizing every Sunday. And we would sing by the Seven Bridges while my dad was out there baptizing. And so that was written truly like I stepped back in time and wrote that, because every word of that song is very vivid in my mind, growing up with the Seven Bridges. So that's where that came from. And then Devil in DeVille, uh, how I grew up. There's a lot of spiritual darkness and light, and it was something that I witnessed as a little girl, and so I kept it very hill country, and I play slide on that because that's how I wrote it, and
Mhm.
I just felt it was very Delta. So that's about, and gosh, yeah. So every song on there, Thank You, Mom, was strictly something I just wrote to my mom. And Mick at Endless Blues says, you know what? We've got to add that. Even if it's the last song, we'll add it. So my mom was so super happy. And Mississippi Rain, which really charted the best off of the album, uh, was I initially wrote it thinking how much I miss my mother. But I turned it into, of course, like it's not my mom. I turned it into like a situation of a lost love that I was longing for in Mississippi. So
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
everything was yeah, handpicked and written. So
I got to go back. I got to go back into this a little bit because the themes that you have woven through this album to me are something else. Um, it's lyrically genius in many ways. Talking about Seven Bridges, it's one of those songs that just kind of caught me off guard. The words "Lord, please forgive me for the sins I chose to do." I mean, wow, and you can definitely see those ties to the religion from your early life, and yet this is not a gospel record, is it?
no, but it's getting gospel airplay.
Yeah.
Seven Bridges is on the gospel airplay right now, and Devil in DeVille has gotten some airplay. But you're right; it's not a gospel record, but thankfully, some stations are playing it. A couple of the songs, not all of them, but yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool. That is really so. You're getting some cross genre play. That's really neat.
yeah, yeah.
Now, it's been nearly 6 years since this album was released. Any plans for a new project? What are you working on?
Yes, I actually have two projects right now. One project is fully finished; it needs to be mastered. Um, and it was recorded at Royal Studios in Memphis there. And once again, Endless Blues, we're talking about that, possibly releasing that. And then another one was a single um, that I'm starting to write on another album that
Okay.
I'm possibly going to release a single first and then the full album of that. But the one album that's completely done is the one in from Royal Studios. So
Okay.
fingers crossed, you'll hear something really soon. It's
Yeah,
time.
well,
Time to release.
I'm excited because I'll tell you, I mean, I really enjoyed this album and I was out there looking for more and there was nothing more for me to find and I went, "Man, I hope she releases something soon."
Thank you.
But
I have a couple of independents that I just haven't put on released yet, but I do have a couple of other albums. They're just not out. But I'm thinking
okay.
about getting those on the label and so they can get out, so people
Yeah,
can hear them. Yeah. But
absolutely. Well, let's have some fun. This is the fun stuff. I want to talk about your plans for this summer. Specifically, your appearance at this year's Kalamazoo Blues Fest, July 18th and 19th. Now, I heard that you're playing on Saturday evening. So,
yeah.
talk about this show for a little bit, if you would, please.
Sure. We're so excited about this.
Yeah.
We're going to be incorporating a lot of this album in that show. And we just like to have fun. We're very energy filled. We all love what we do. So you're going to have two guitars, one slide, one with a little bit of funk added to him. And the musicians are they're my family on the road. There's Robert Edwards on one guitar. There's Matt Gilbert on the second guitar, who plays slide as well. And then we'll have a bass. Calvin Johnson normally plays the bass when we're touring. And then we have Todd Newland on drums. And then I'm on a little Hammond organ, um, which is awesome. Hammond has endorsed me to do their little SK1, so that's what I'll
Oh,
be
nice.
playing. And so
Yeah.
I'll be doing Hammond and some cigar box and some guitar. So we just play it up. We just love what we do. So it's tons of energy, tons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, for those that don't know, let me give you the rundown. Okay. This is what you can expect at the Kalamazoo Blues Fest, July 18th and 19th, Friday evening. It kicks off at 5 o'clock with Jim Klein, followed by Chris Canis, who's a good friend of mine, Detroit's Prince of the Blues. We also have Ivy Ford, and wrapping up the evening with Brandon Santini, another gentleman I'm going to be talking to soon. On Saturday, we got the Left-Handed Rollers kicking things off at 1 p.m., followed by the Crossroads Resurrection, Stefan Hilsheim, the one and only Tullie Brae coming up at 5:45 on Saturday, followed. Are you ready? She's opening basically for John Primer. Can you believe it? John Primer is going to be there.
My
And
gosh, I love him.
and wrapping up the show is Vanessa Collier. So I'm getting goosebumps because I'm going to tell you, I've seen Primer, I've seen Vanessa. This, I'm going to tell you right now, is going to be one hell of a show. It really is. And you need to make plans to get down there and get your tickets. Go online. It's on KVBA. That's Kilo Victor Bravo Alpha. Yeah, I'm a ham radio operator. KVBA.org is where you go and find information on this. And we are really looking forward to it. I have not been excited about a blues fest other than our local stuff up here in Lansing. It's been a couple of years. So, Tully, I am really looking forward to seeing you guys. That's going to be just one whale of a lineup.
Oh, what a lineup. I'm just thrilled. I want to be there to see everybody else.
Yeah.
You know,
And
Brandon played on our album, on my album, Brandon Santini.
yes. Yes. Yeah. Mick actually told me about that.
Yeah, it's so cool. What a
Yep.
great lineup. And I love Vanessa. And oh yeah, and John Primer. I mean, come on. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And have you seen his Steve Bell? Have you seen that boy play some harmonica?
I think so. I
Oh
think.
man, he's part of the Real Deal Blues Band. Listen, I've never seen people do some of the stuff he does with a harmonica.
Ooh,
Okay. So
yeah.
if for no other reason to come out and see John and the band, that cat's got it. Absolutely
Wow.
got it, man. It's a blast. And I absolutely love that band and love John. The history that the man has in the blues, it's just absolutely crazy. But anyway, let's talk about you. Where can folks go to find out about your music, buy some merch, music, maybe book you for a gig?
Oh yeah, man. That's awesome. They can go to our website, which is tulliebray.com. And that's
Hmm.
TULLIEBRAE.com. And they can contact us there. They want to email us. There's a link that you can email us and call us. And then we have Facebook and Instagram. And there's two Facebooks. There's the music page, and then there's another Tullie Brae page. And just hit us up in all areas. We'd love to see you and chat.
And if
Yeah.
you haven't had a chance to check out Revelation yet, by all means, you need to do it. Okay. Make sure you buy before you stream, please, because every artist can appreciate that. But Tully Brae, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on Time Signatures. All the best to you, and definitely looking forward to seeing you this summer. Okay.
Oh, yes, Jim. I can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we are definitely looking forward to it. And as this episode comes to a close, I want to tell you about the Killer Blues Headstone Project. Stephen Salter started Killer Blues in 2008 with the goal of making sure that no blues musician lay in an unmarked grave. To date, Killer Blues Headstone Project has placed over 170 headstones in 16 states, but there's a lot more work to do. In fact, Stephen already has a list of around 25 more headstones in need of funding for placement, and he needs your help to get that done. Whether it's $5, $50, $500 or more, every dollar raised goes to this worthwhile project. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation today at killerblues.net and look for the donation link at the bottom of the page. And as always, thank you so much for your consideration. And that wraps up this edition of Time Signatures. Once again, my personal thanks to our guest, Tullie Brae, but also to you, for without you, none of this would be possible. Jim Ervin reminding you, keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues, one story at a time, is my mission. Until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.
Baby, I'm home.